What if I told you that this watch absorbs 99.4% of light into its dial? Now that sounds cool, but what does it even mean? Well, this watch delivers a visual experience unlike any other. And if you wanted a watch similar to this by a big brand like Rolex, it would cost you upwards of $30,000. This mega popular model has been sold out for months, but it's finally coming back. And after handling this model, I am not surprised as to why it's been so popular. Now, this isn't my first Venezianico. I reviewed the Enquiries just a few months ago, and I was mega impressed with the quality of that watch. So when Venezianico asked me to take a look at this one, it was of course an instant yes. Now I do get to keep this watch, but all views and opinions are mine. This is the Venezianico Redentore Ultra Black. First time around, this watch sold out, and it hasn't been available for a few months now. However, now is your chance to pick up this hyped up watch for a short period of time. From the release of this video, which is Friday the 5th of April at 2 PM UK time, there will be a 72-hour period to pre-order this watch, with the deliveries of the pre-orders beginning next month in May. This watch comes in at bang on €500, which is around $540 or £428. Now I do think that this watch is on the pricey side for this spec sheet that's on offer. Stainless steel, sapphire, Seiko automatic, but I think it's the look of this watch that you're buying. And I don't think you've ever seen a true black dial until you've seen this black dial. The whole idea behind this watch is pure minimalism. It doesn't get more minimal than pure nothingness. The dial features a Japanese Musu paint that absorbs 99.4% of light. That basically means that this dial is as dark as it gets. There are no reflections, no details, just absolute darkness. Some of you may ask why. Well, why not? In a world full of sandwich dials, guilloche patterns, sunburst finishes, it's cool to have something that is the complete opposite. The lack of details is the detail. And even though this is an incredibly minimal watch, it somehow still has so much personality. I'm super impressed with the choice of crystal on this watch. It features a top hat sapphire that complements the dial effortlessly well. There's clearly some blue anti-reflective treatment on the underside, which glistens and flashes when the light collides. The blue AR actually does a lot for this watch. It adds a hint of colour that brings the watch to life. But the blue AR is only really noticeable around the curved edges, allowing that jet black dial to really take centre stage. Now, I have admitted plenty of times in the past that I am an absolute sucker when it comes to Dauphine hands. So obviously I'm happy that Venezianico have gone with them on this watch. This handset seems like the perfect companion for this dial. The sharp tips, the facets down the middle, it adds a sharpness to this dial that is much needed. All three hands feature a polished finish, and this was the only real choice to have contrast with that dial. Outside in the sunlight, these hands flash like an 80s rave, and having such a high with the hands and a low with the dial fulfills that unrivaled visual experience claim that Venezianico makes. The only other point of interest is the logo up at the 12. Some might see this as an unnecessary element to the design, but I think otherwise. Because of the lack of minute markings or indices, this logo gives a point of orientation, a point to set the time against. It's obviously near impossible to set the time perfectly on this watch, unless it's bang on o'clock where you can align with the logo. I have seen some reviewers call this a dress watch, but I disagree with that label. I think this is more of a statement watch, a piece to wear to the pub, a piece to wear when going out shopping. For me, it's way more of an everyday watch than a dress watch. I think Venezianico has confirmed this with the shape of the case. Dress watches tend not to feature chunky lugs like this, and they certainly don't feature curved chunky bezels. The polishing to the lugs and bezel might be confusing to some, but that's there to contrast with the depth of the dial. Also, the use of crown guards pretty much confirms this as an everyday watch. And I'm so glad that I don't have to read comments saying this watch is too small or this watch is too big, because this watch comes in two very different sizes. The smaller 36mm version comes with a 45mm lug to lug and 11.8mm in thickness, with the lug width on this smaller size being 18mm. The larger 40mm version comes with a 48mm lug to lug and 12.3mm of thickness, with the lug width being bigger at 20mm. I'd recommend the 36 for anyone with a wrist size below 6 3/4 inches, and the 40mm for 7 inches and above. Now these watches do appear a lot larger on wrist than the dimensions suggest, and that's down to the sheer impact that this black dial has in the wearing experience. It's also worth noting that the 36mm only has 50 meters of water resistance, whereas the 40mm has 100 meters of water resistance. Now that isn't a big deal for me whatsoever, but I know that will make some people want to size up. This is down to the 36 only having a snap-on case back and the 40 having a screw down. Both watches come with a jet black leather strap that features no details or stitching. The quality is surprisingly high for a supplied strap, but this is an Italian watch brand, so it's kind of what they do best. I see this watch as Venezianico's hero product. You know, like Studio Underdog has the Watermelon, and like Baltic has the MR01. This is a watch that I can see them selling for the next 10, 20 years. I do think though that they need to keep improving each model. It's a near perfect design with a couple of non-perfect features. I haven't mentioned the movement yet, and that's because it's actually one of the flaws. Inside is the automatic Seiko NH35, which is a great reliable movement, but that means that we have a ghost date position. We need to be seeing an NH38 inside of this watch going forward. Sure, it doesn't make much of a difference, but it makes the watch imperfect. If this watch had a NH38 inside, it would be pretty hard to criticize, because aside from the movement, I don't have much else bad to say about it. The watch could do with being a bit slimmer, maybe 11mm, but I don't hate this 12mm size. It gives it some wrist presence. You have 72 hours to pre-order this watch from the Venezianico website, which is linked in the description. Subscribe, like the video, and I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Bye for now.